Good morning. Welcome to the City Planning Public Hearing. And Madam Secretary?
Good
please
morning.
begin.
Good morning. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street. Today is Wednesday, March 4th, 2015. As a courtesy during the proceedings, we ask that you please turn off all cell phones and beepers. All speakers should fill out a speaker's card at the desk outside of Spector Hall. In addition, we ask that those providing testimony please identify yourself, limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and speak clearly into the microphone. I will now call the roll. Chairman Weisbrod,
Here.
Vice Chair Knuckles,
Here.
Commissioner Besser,
Here.
Commissioner Cantor, Commissioner Cerullo, Commissioner Delauss, Commissioner Dweck, Commissioner Edie, Commissioner Efron,
Here.
Commissioner Jung, Commissioner Levin, Commissioner Marin, Commissioner Ortiz. A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 18, 2015.
On the minutes, approval of the minutes, may I have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Minutes are approved.
Scheduling on calendar numbers 1 through 4, we have resolutions for adoption. Scheduling Wednesday, March 18, 2015, for a public hearing to be held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street.
On the resolutions, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolutions are approved.
The next part of the calendar is the report section on page 3. Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 5, 6, and 7. Calendar number 5, CD 8, N150190 ZAX. Calendar number 6, N150191 ZAX. Calendar number 7, N150192 ZAX. In the matter of applications for the grant of authorizations concerning Riverdale Country School River Campus Perkin Building. For adoption on calendar numbers 5, 6, and 7. Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Besser,
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor, Commissioner Delauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck, Commissioner Efron,
Yes.
Commissioner Jung,
Yes.
Commissioner Levin, Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz. Calendar numbers 5, 6, and 7 have been adopted. Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 8, 9, and 10. Calendar number 8, CD 8, N150193 ZAX. Calendar number 9, N150194 ZAX. Calendar number 10, N150195 ZAX. In the matter of applications for the grant of authorizations concerning Riverdale Country School Hill Campus Auditorium Building. For adoption on calendar numbers 8, 9, and 10. Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Delauss. Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Edie.
Yes, and
Commission-
if I may, to be voted yes in the affirmative on the prior one.
Yes.
Thank
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Jung.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
I didn't know an auditorium was still a thing, but I vote yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz. Calendar numbers 8, 9, and 10 have been adopted. Borough of the Bronx, calendar number 11, CD 8, N150210 ZAX. In the matter of an application for the grant of an authorization concerning the SAW Academy. For adoption on calendar number 11, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Delauss. Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Jung. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. Calendar number 11 has been adopted. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 12, CD3, C130321 ZSM. In the matter of an application for the grant of a special permit concerning 180 Orchard Street Public Parking Garage. For a favorable report on calendar number 12, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Delauss. Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Jung. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. Calendar number 12 has been adopted. Borough of Manhattan, calendar numbers 13, 14, and 15. Calendar number 13, CD4, N140407 ZRM. Calendar number 14, C140408 ZSM. calendar number 15, C14040409ZSM, in the matter of applications for an amendment to the zoning resolution and for the grant of special permits concerning 505-513 West 43rd Street. For favorable reports on calendar numbers 13, 14, and 15. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes, I'd note that the initial application here was for a development with a height limit of 164 feet, and through a negotiation between the community board and the developer, the height limit was reduced from the original application by 10 feet, which resulted in a loss of a significant amount of housing units, potential housing units. Nevertheless, both affordable housing units and market rate units. Nevertheless, I do recognize that the compromise agreed to between the developer and the community, with the approval of both the community board and the borough president, did result in a height, or does result in a height limit that is 20 feet higher than otherwise permitted in this transitional block between the high, no limit height limit to the south and the much more limited height limit immediately to the north. So I do vote reluctantly yes on this matter, although I am disappointed that the community and the developer could not achieve the full potential that this development offered.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
I agree with the sentiments of the chair, and I also vote yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Ditto, yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
I too share the remarks of the chair, and I would just say that I appreciate that everyone was flexible in this matter, and that additional off-site affordable units were part of what has been achieved since the hearing. This is a unique site, and I think this tries to balance a number of competing demands. I vote yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Jung.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
I appreciate the chair's careful and thoughtful consideration of this. I certainly agree with all of his sentiments. I also want to commend HPD for their participation in the public hearing and the clarity that they helped bring to the inclusionary housing program in general as part of that discussion. I vote yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz. Favorable reports have been adopted on calendar numbers 13, 14, and 15. Borough of Queens, calendar number 16, CD7, C120403ZMQ, in the matter of an application for an amendment of the zoning map concerning 137-61 Northern Boulevard. For a favorable report on calendar number 16, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser,
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor,
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Jung.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz. A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 16. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 12. Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 17 and 18. Calendar number 17, CD3, N150196HAX. Calendar number 18, C150197ZSX. A public hearing in the matter of applications for a UDAP designation, project approval, and for the grant of special permits concerning New Roads Plaza.
First speaker is Winifred Campbell from HPD.
Good morning. My name is Winifred Campbell, representing HPD, one of the applicants for 988 Washington Avenue, also known as New Roads Plaza. A representative from the co-applicant, South Bronx Overall Economic Development Organization, will be presenting today as well. New Roads Plaza is a new construction building which will be located in Bronx Community District 3 on the northeastern corner of Washington Avenue and East 164th Street. In the 1980s, this area was identified as one of the 3 industrial park sites in the community district, known as the Morrisania Industrial Park. It was the least successful of the 3 parks despite EDC's effort to market the site. The Department of City Planning undertook a rezoning of the area from M11 to MX7. Since the rezoning approval in 2003, more than 1,000 residential units have been created in the rezoning area, and New Roads Plaza will add 94 units. The project will occupy 9 contiguous tax lots on Block 2369. 6 of the lots are city-owned, and the remaining lots are privately owned, and the co-applicant will own all 3 lots by the project's closing. The 8-story building will be registered as a nonprofit institution with sleeping accommodations, Use Group 3 per Section 22-13 of the zoning resolution. Of the 94 units, 57 will be supportive units, and 37 will be for low-income households. There will be 1 unit for the super. The project will also have multiple on-site services delivered by a supportive housing organization. There will be ample recreational space on the ground floor as well as 2 rooftop terraces. The action before the commission this morning are UDAP designation and the approval of a special permit to increase the allowable FAR from 3.44 to 6.5. The proposed development would result in a combined FAR of 5.263, which is below the maximum allowed with the approval of the special permit. We request your approval of these actions to facilitate New Roads Plaza to allow this much-needed housing to be built in our city. The sponsor and the architect will discuss specifics about the project, and I am also available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Questions, Ms. Campbell? Very well done.
Thank you.
Extremely comprehensive in 3 minutes. Next speaker is Nathaniel Montgomery.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nathaniel Montgomery from the South Bronx Overall Economic Development Corporation. I'm here to share with you our objectives here this morning with regards to the special permit application for the New Roads Plaza project. Just one quick correction, it's 95 units, 94 of them are rentable, 1 will be occupied by a super. And so the breakdown is 57 supportable housing units and 38 individual and family units, and so for a total of 95. So the New Roads Plaza project is a supportive housing project that we are extremely excited about. Just a little brief history on Sobro. Sobro has a history spanning over 40-plus years. We are what I consider a full-service nonprofit. So in addition to real estate development and property management, we also provide a number of social services ranging from English as a second language to job skills training, resume assistance, and the like. We are very excited, as I was stating, to partner with, on this application, HPD. We believe that this area will benefit greatly from this project, and we are extremely excited for the potential that this project serves in terms of serving as a catalyst for other developments in the area. I am being mindful of my 3 minutes, and so I will like to speak to the other development members that are here, members of the team, which is Urban Pathways, our social service provider, who will be introduced at some point here, and will speak on the social services that we will deliver at this location to the special needs population of individuals with serious mental illness. We also have with us today our architect, who is representing Danois Architects, Ms. Monica Aguilar-Lard, who will also be introduced at some point here to speak to the specifics with regards to why we are seeking the additional FAR by way of the special permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Questions? Ms. Delauze?
Hi, Mr. Montgomery, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Thanks for being here. I'm wondering, have you secured all the financing, both for the construction and on the social services at this point, or you and your partners?
Yes, we have.
Great.
Ms. Efron?
Thank you. Just a quick question. You mentioned Urban Pathways as a partner. Can you just explain the differentiation of responsibilities between Sobro and Urban Pathways with regard to this project?
Certainly. So Sobro will act as the property manager and be responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of the building. Urban Pathways will work specifically with the special needs population in terms of service delivery. And of course, the building is the service delivery point. And they will work in conjunction with other city and state agencies in terms of the residents who are referred to the property. And they will be responsible for providing services that are needed or required by that population that occupy the space that we're proposing.
And just to follow up to that, how long is the agreement between Sobro and Urban Pathways on the project?
In perpetuity. So,
Thanks.
Ms.
yes, it is.
Yes, I think forever. Ms. Ortiz?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
In the Bronx Borough President's recommendation, there was a mention that because this development is considered supportive housing, the units will not be subject to HPD's lottery. So that applies to both the supportive units and the individual one-family units?
That's my understanding.
Okay, and can you speak to how the selection will be made for the individual units? Who will be managing that process, and how will selection occur, or is that a question better served to someone else?
Well, no, we have an established property management division there at Sobro, and we've worked over the years with both the state and the city in terms of the proper way to market affordable housing. And so we are going to stick to what we've used in the past. It's been successful. And I think that the process that we adopt will be considered fair and equitable at the end of the day.
Could you describe that process?
I would not be the person to go into detail on that.
Okay.
Deborah Johnson would be the individual who would be better served to answer this question for you.
Is she presenting
No,
today?
she is not presenting.
Okay, it would be helpful to have that information.
Okay, I can provide that information in writing on both our real estate development division as well as our property management team.
Deborah Johnson is with Sobro?
She's with Sobro as well. She's
So-
vice president of property management.
So just in line with what Commissioner Ortiz requested, could we get something in writing from Ms.
Absolutely,
Johnson?
absolutely.
Mr. Eady and then Ms. Delauze.
A quick question. Urban Pathways, would they have an office on site? to provide
Yes,
services?
Urban Pathways is going to occupy the ground floor of the building. So there they will have on-site offices as well as a conference space, in addition to security that will be there in the building, along with a super who will actually help facilitate cleanup and maintenance of the building as a whole.
Thank you.
Ms. Delauze.
Mr. Montgomery, maybe you know the answer to this question, just to kind of clarify the question from Commissioner Ortiz. Despite the fact that it might not be, this particular project might not be subject to the city's overall lottery program, the city and probably the state, because the state tax credits, will be reviewing your marketing plan and approving it.
Absolutely, yes, yes, yes.
Right. Thank you.
Ms. Levin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Montgomery. I'd just like to ask you to elaborate on the, not this question from Commissioner Delauze, but the previous one about the financing. We all know that putting projects like this together is unbelievably complicated, and I guess just for information, I'd be curious to know, what the various pieces of the finance package are that you've had to pull together to make this project work.
Oh, absolutely. So with regards to how we structured this particular deal, we have the 9% credits that were issued through the state. which we were successfully awarded. And then we have in the budget the supportive housing loan dollars from HPD, which is the reason why we have a mixed population. As per the term sheet of the program, you are obligated to have 60% of your units set aside for supportive housing, and then the balance, meaning the 40%, for individuals and families. So the tax credits, along with the supportive housing funds, along with dollars that have been allocated by way of the Borough President's Office, with the balance therefore being the deferred developers fee, which we have in the project, and then combined with a few dollars that we've received from OER grants and EPA grants.
Good, thank you. Good for you for pulling that all together.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Montgomery? Thank you very much.
Thank
Very
you.
The next speaker is Monica Aliaga Loud. Is that correct?
Good morning.
Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Perfectly, actually. I will be presenting the general information about the building, building design. In terms of the zoning, the proposed building is located, as you all know now, in the Special Mixed Use District MX7, which allows all uses under the M1-1 and R7-1 uses. The main use of the building will be Community Facility Use Group 3, philanthropic or nonprofit institution with sleeping accommodations. The allowable FAR for this type of community facility in an R7-1, as of right, is 3.44. If the site would be developed at this as of right FAR, we would have 43,160 square feet available, which will only allow us to build about 62 units. The proposed FAR is 5.263. It is below the 6.5 allowable if the variance is granted. And the additional floor area is requested to accommodate all the proposed amenities, services, and apartment unit count to make this a feasible and viable addition to the community. The height of this 8-story building is 77 feet and 3.5 inches above the base plane, and it is similar in height of about 3 or 4 buildings that are in the neighborhood. In terms of the building design, that Nathaniel already said that there are 95 dwelling units, 57 supportive housing units, and 38 affordable apartments. In terms of the building entrance and the lobby are spacious and well articulated, leading to an elevator bank and easy access to one of the 2 staircases that serve all the 8 floors. The building's loss factor has been kept to a minimum in order to maximize the square footage within the apartments. And the building facades have been designed to complement the streetscape of the site. And the main materials are utilized will be brick and stone and metal panels. In terms of the units, all units have 8-foot ceilings, and the kitchens with ample counter space open to the living room. They have entrance closets and linen closets, and all the units have been designed following the HPD design guidelines for new construction and the supportive housing design guidelines as well. The units will maintain as much as possible identical design within the unit types and to maximize efficiency within the building in terms of plumbing, stacked all together, plumbing and mechanical ducts. That's 3 minutes, wow. And that was quick. Okay, in terms of the amenities, which is in general.
2 more sentences.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the amenities are going to provide several recreation rooms, the OMH offices on the 1st floor, open spaces, and green roof on the 7th floor, mainly.
Okay, thank you very much. And just to make it clear, you are associated with the architect. Thank
Yeah.
you. Questions? Mr. Cantor.
Yes, thank you. If I heard you correctly, you said that you have not used up the full FAR.
Not at 6.5. We feel that the amount of square footage that we are proposing, this was a constant collaboration with our client Sobro, and we established that this was a good amount of square footage needed to provide the units that we are providing to for the community.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Zhang?
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. I have a number of questions,
Sure.
seemingly 5. First of all, I'm wondering if you could speak sort of generally to what the energy performance goals of this project are, particularly if you have some metrics that you can share with us in terms of heating index or energy use intensity or something like that. And then it seems like from the material that's been submitted, it seems like the cogen facility is really, the capability of having cogen here seems to be a really big piece of the energy management strategy. And I'm wondering whether the sort of preliminary conversations with Con Ed have been had to make sure that you have gas availability and things like that. So, if your energy strategy is really, really needs the cogen facility, that, the sort of the due diligence has been done to make sure that you can, in fact, install the cogen facility there. And then I have 3 more after that.
Okay, so I'll start with those 2. First, we don't have metrics specifically yet. We are still working with our design consultant in the energy modeling. We will be providing an energy modeling, and we are participating in the NYSERDA Multifamily Energy Efficiency Program. So we're going to have a lot of the energy efficiency measures in place in our design. We are targeting to meet or surpass the 17 to 22% performance that you usually achieve higher than ASHRAE, 90.1 2010. That is our goal, to achieve or surpass that. And we're working with our energy consultant in trying to make this a very energy efficient building. She's still working, we're still working on the design and therefore the energy modeling. So the metrics we don't have as of now. In terms of the cogeneration system, I don't think we have preliminary discussions with Con Ed yet in terms of the gas usage, but it's also still in progress on how much energy we're going to be producing in order to, we don't know specifically, we will have to figure that out soon, but our intention is to provide enough energy from this cogeneration system to provide energy for the lights and for the corridors and common spaces. That's the bare minimum, and possibly some of the units, if not all the units.
So on that, so it sounds like the supportive units will be master metered and then the family units will be direct metered?
I think they will also, yeah, that's what the intention is, yeah.
And then I'm also wondering, I think that the references that you make here in terms of how you got to the cogen and the role that it could play in making sure that building is able to provide services in the case of an outage, electrical outage
Yeah.
and such is really commendable.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, just in the same vein, whether the design is incorporating a cooling strategy, given that this building will be housing vulnerable people.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are providing green roofs, mainly. Well, I don't know if you're talking about the general cooling system. Mm-hmm. We are working with PTAGs, really just for the apartment cooling system and heating mainly. But there will be the energy will be coming from the cogeneration system.
Both the supportive units and the family
Yeah.
units will have centrally managed cooling?
No, we're going to have PTAGs, and it has individual, technically each apartment can have their own management of the cooling and heating.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And this may actually be more of a question for Sobro, but I was wondering, will there be any kind of a smoking policy at this building?
Most likely non-smoking, non-smoking policy,
Okay.
yeah.
Great. Well, Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Cantor.
Thank you. More on that cogen, please.
Sure.
Am I to understand that cogen is really being used as backup in terms,
No, it's our main source of energy.
it's your main source of
Yeah.
energy? For a 90-some-odd unit building?
That's our target. We're still working on the capacity of the cogeneration system that the client wants to acquire. But the intent is to maximize the amount of units that we can
But
use
they
this
have not
energy
yet
for.
developed it far enough to be sure that it's cost efficient.
Please.
That is probably a better question for Sobro in terms of the cost efficiency. They're usually the ones who are.
We will ask Sobro to submit some
Very interesting that they're using it.
additional testimony on that. Any other questions for Ms. Aliaga Lau? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Andrea Harnett Robinson from Urban Pathways.
Good morning. I'm Andrea Harnett Robinson. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at Urban Pathways. Urban Pathways is a nonprofit, community-based organization that has been serving the needs of homeless individuals living with mental illness and other co-occurring disabilities for the past 40 years. We're based in Midtown Manhattan, and we provide a number of outreach services in the area, including Port Authority, bus terminal, Newark Airport, the Fashion Bid, the Flatiron Bid, and PATH, and we do a lot of work with street homeless individuals. And our goal has been to move this challenging population into housing and giving them the support and services that they need. And half of our portfolio has really focused on working with street-level homelessness. However, the other half of our portfolio has been in providing housing to individuals who have been homeless, some who are on the street, some who are in shelters. We've been doing this now for over 40 years, and as such, we have been the developer for housing as well as the social services provider. We have provided what we're calling extended stay housing for most of our population, and that means that they're able to move into supportive housing and they can stay there as long as they need to be there until they acquire the skills in order to move on to more independent housing. And in September of 2014, we developed a mixed-use permanent housing building at 1344 Clinton Avenue and Community Board 3 in the Bronx. And this project is actually very similar to what we're proposing to do with our partner, Sobro. In our building on Clinton Avenue, we have 55 special needs individuals, people who are eligible for special needs housing by virtue of their previous homelessness. They're eligible because they qualified under New York 3 eligibility. That's a designation offered by HRA and the Office of Mental Health, and we've been working very closely with HPD. And our goal has been with this population and will be with Sobro.
You can finish
Okay.
your sentence.
To ensure that the tenants who are living in these buildings have the supports that they need to be successful in the community.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Welcome back. Mr. Knuckles.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms.
Good
Robinson.
morning.
Thank you for your testimony. Could you briefly but as long as you need to. Explain the screening criteria for the population that will occupy the 57 studios.
Sir.
What's the criteria for
The-
determining, I guess, semi-independent living or
Okay.
independent living?
All right. So the initial criteria is that everyone who will be eligible for the 57 units must have had a history of homelessness as well as either mental illness and substance abuse or another co-occurring disorder. And that has to have been in their history, and they would have to have been sort of designated for living in community care by virtue of the New York 3 agreement. This population would be considered what's called Category A, individuals coming from either shelters or other community-based programs that serve this particular population. And what we do in order to recruit applicants for our projects is we work closely with the Department of Homeless Services as well as other nonprofit organizations that serve this particular population. We are very clear in our marketing to both DHS as well as other nonprofits that the housing is for individuals who have gained a level of stability in their lives that they can live in what we call mixed-use housing, and that they're able to access supports from the social service provider, which will be us.
So you have social services on site?
Social services will be on site.
And what are some of those services? The nature of those services?
We will have 3 full-time staff present, a case manager, a peer specialist, and a vocational counselor, plus a part-time clinical supervisor, as well as a part-time program director. And the work that we do with the tenants will be based on what they need. Again, these are not individuals who need the same level of support that they may have needed several years ago, but they need to know how to deal with the stressors of being on their own. They need to know how to navigate the community, to access the services, and when they're having a crisis, what to do. And that's exactly what the Urban Pathways staff will offer to the 57 individuals who are living in the building.
So the rent stream for these individuals comes from the supportive housing component in the capital stack?
It will
Is that the way it
come,
works?
I'm sorry, we'll be receiving funding from the New York State Office of Mental Health to provide the supportive services as well as rental support to the population.
Is there a ratio of gender, male, female, or is that just?
No, we do
first?
not discriminate. It can be any combination, but what we do know is that individuals who have been homeless have been primarily men. So there's really more of a sort of a 70% male configuration, but there's quite a number of women who have been homeless for a variety of reasons, and they're ready to get back into living in the communities.
Thank you.
Ms. Efron?
Thank you. I have 2 questions. The first is, since you will have space on the ground floor, is the intention to have any other clients within the neighborhood or community served on that site, or is it solely for the use of the tenants? And then my second question is, now that you've been operating your building for, I guess, almost 6 or 7 months, are there any surprises that yield positive changes that might come about in this project, since it sounds as if you're dealing with a similar mixed population?
Very similar. No, the services that will be offered by Urban Pathways will be exclusively for the tenants in New Roads Plaza. And have we had any surprises at our Clinton Avenue project? What we did appreciate in our current project is that the non-special needs population also have issues, and that they look for support, and we provide it both at our Clinton Avenue property, and we'll do so at New Roads Plaza.
Terrific, thank you.
Ms.
Hi, how are you? I'm curious, you mentioned the Clinton Avenue project, and, Commissioner Knuckles previously asked whether the supportive units would be intermingled, and the answer was yes. So is that the case at the Clinton Avenue project? And if so, could you speak to how these populations sort of interface and work together?
Sure. Yes, the units are fully integrated, and that there's no distinction that's made. We want to make sure that if you're living in a building, that you can comfortably go into your unit and not feel as though you're going to be stigmatized because you're living in a unit that's designated for a particular population. So no, they're completely mixed. And quite frankly, if you lived in any apartment building, you really don't know whether or not your neighbor has a disability or mental illness or other disabling conditions. You really are hoping that your community within your building is going to be safe and supportive and secure, and that when you go home at the end of the day, you know that you're going into your special place. And that's what we want to create, certainly at New Roads Plaza.
So to follow up on that is, the non-special needs units, in this case, there'll be 38. They're a mix of ones and twos. In your experience, given the Clinton Avenue project, are there any, they're called family units, but are there children in these units? Is your experience that they're not families at all, but rather singles? And
in our Clinton Avenue project, they really are all singles. However, what I will say is that this is housing, and people have families, and they have relationships, and their children in the building, and we see them come and go. And it's really very exciting to work with, to really see individuals who have been pretty much estranged from their families really begin to reunite with their loved ones. So we definitely encourage those connections.
Any other questions for Ms. Robinson? What? Ms. Besser, I thought you had a question.
First, Ms. Robinson, I'd like to commend you for your choice in profession. And, every human being should certainly have a place to call home. I was just wondering what the success rate was for these individuals.
Success in terms of remaining housed or moving on with their lives, or kind of both. kind of both. Well, I think the sort of best example that I can offer is in our extended stay residences. Individuals who've moved in, and actually I have a building that opened in November of 2012. And 60% of the individuals that moved in during that first year are still living in that particular building. So of course there are people who have had problems. But for the most part, the majority of the individuals who move into our buildings are really happy to be housed and find ways in which to stay housed, even when they struggle with crises in their lives. they want to go home. They want to get better to go home. And so what's exciting right now is for those individuals in our extended stay properties, they're ready to move to that next level. And our Clinton Avenue building represents the next level, and Sobrow's 57 units will represent the next level for the individuals in our extended stay projects.
Thank you.
I do have one correction. I happen to be someone with a hyphenated name, and my last name is Harnett Robinson.
Duly noted. Ms. Ortiz.
Hi, thank you. One follow-up. I think it's wonderful that there seems to be a public, shared common areas, public space. What, kind of security and monitoring of those spaces will occur over time? How are those spaces managed to ensure that they remain safe and comfortable for residents?
I think that's a Sobro question because they're providing the security in the building. I'll use the example in one of my building, my Clinton Avenue building, and quite frankly, people come and go, and that the front desk staff is there to take packages, to ensure that if there's an issue with any of the tenants, that the proper staff are notified. Tenants know that if they have a concern, they can call down to our front desk and can receive assistance, either directly, depending on the time of day, or that our front desk staff will contact the appropriate case management staff to help them.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Harnett Robinson? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? If not, the hearing is closed.
Borough of
Thank
the
you.
Bronx, calendar numbers 19 and 20. Calendar number 19, CD4, C150174, PQX. Calendar number 20, C150175, HAX. A public hearing in the matter of applications for the acquisition of property, UDAP designation, project approval, and for the disposition of city-owned property concerning 1561 Walton Avenue.
First speaker is Winifred Campbell from HPD. Welcome back, Ms. Campbell. It's been all too long.
Good morning again. I represent HPD, the applicant for the project known as 1561 Walton Avenue. The project area, Block 2845, Lot 47, consists of a triangular lot located on Walton Avenue between East 172nd Street and Mount Eden Avenue in the West Concourse neighborhood of Bronx Community District 4. The project was previously conveyed in 1989 pursuant to the Board of Estimate approval of an accelerated UDAP. Under HPD's construction management program, 893 rental units in 14 buildings located along Walton and Townsend Avenue was rehabilitated for very low and moderate income households. 4 vacant city lots adjacent to these buildings were included in the disposition area for ancillary residential uses. Currently, the project site serves as a parking lot for the staff of the project sponsor, but it is underutilized. The proposed project consists of the new construction of an 11-story building, which when completed will provide 59 residential units. affordable to households with extremely low or low incomes, as well as homeless individuals or families. There will also be one superintendent. HPD seeks approval of the following actions: acquisition of the project site, disposition of the project site, and UDAP designation. The sponsor and their architect will discuss specifics about the project, but I am available to answer any questions.
Once again, very efficiently done, Ms. Campbell. Questions to Ms. Campbell?
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you.
thank you very much. The next speaker is Nicole Clare from the Settlement Housing Fund.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Nicole Clare. I'm an assistant director at Settlement Housing Fund. Settlement Housing Fund is a 45-year-old nonprofit affordable housing developer. We have actually a very long history in this neighborhood, 25 years. As Ms. Campbell mentioned, we acquired this particular site along with 14 buildings that were rehabilitated. In this area, they're known as new settlement apartments. In addition to those 14 buildings, we've been able, through new construction and rehabilitation, to add another 3 buildings. So in total, we currently have owned 17 buildings in the area with over 1,000 apartments, 1,022 apartments. So this will be the 18th building. They're all managed together. We take a lot of pride in maintaining our buildings. In fact, we own the building directly adjacent to the north of this site. In addition to housing, we provide at New Settlement Apartments a range of community programs that serve young people, young adults, youth development programs. At the fall of 2012, we opened a beautiful community center on Jerome Avenue, a couple blocks away. So we have a very long commitment to this community. As I mentioned, we own the building directly adjacent that currently houses New Settlement's College Access Center, which works with young people in their high schools, currently 450 young seniors, to get them to college. And follow up with them while they're in college to ensure college success. As part of the development, we'll also include roughly 300 square feet of community space for use for that College Access Center. As Ms. Campbell mentioned, it's currently an underutilized staff parking lot that we saw the opportunity to turn into additional affordable housing units that are so desperately needed. So we are going to be providing 59 apartments plus a 2-bedroom super unit. As at New Settlement Apartments, all of the buildings that we operate, the building will be mixed income, serving a real range of households, including, as were mentioned, homeless families, which would be 15% of the building, 9 units dispersed throughout the building. Many of them will have Section 8 vouchers. And then a range of incomes for the other families, depending on their family sizes, ranging in incomes from roughly $20,000 a year, earning that, to $65,000 a year. The project will have 50 years of affordability through 2067 and will be rent stabilized. In terms of financing, we received through a very competitive application process through the state, federal 9% tax credits, as well as state credits, which support the moderate income units, which, okay, good. No, that's about it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Clare. Questions? Mr. Knuckles.
Thank you, Ms. Clare. This may be better put to Ms. Campbell, who I let slip away. But it's just a procedural matter. The actions necessary, HPD or the city has to acquire the land from Crenulated, who owns the property now.
That's correct.
And then essentially dispose of it back to Crenulated.
Exactly. Well, it will not be directly to Crenulated.
It's through a third party.
Yeah, Crenulated is our affiliated entity.
Right.
So the city will acquire it, and actually have to dispose it to a third party who then disposes of it to our development entity that we create specifically for the development of this property, who
Okay.
will own it on the long term.
And the rationale for that,
Is because we acquired this lot, as she mentioned, along with 14 buildings that
Right.
were rehabbed.
Right.
So that was UDAP designation, which would not allow us to build 60 units here. It actually would only allow us for either to rehab or new construction 1 to 4 family buildings. So in order to build a building of this size, which is as of right zoning, it meets current zoning, we need the proper disposition authority,
All
the
right.
proper authority to dispose of it, to build a building of this scale.
thank you, I didn't have to go to Ms. Campbell.
Ms. Campbell will never slip away. Ms. Efron.
Thanks. Just because it does beg the question, was this parking lot really well utilized and now is underutilized, or has it never been utilized? I'm just trying to figure out if
You know,
there's
there
a
are
trend
currently
about
about
driving.
27 parking spaces, but it's not packed. We do have staff that uses it for parking. You know, off-street parking is a little challenging in the area, street parking that is, but, you know, really affordable housing is a more
Agreed.
highest and best use above staff parking, so.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you.
That's a very enlightened view. Any other questions for Ms. Claire? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Kerry Zucker. And you are associated with the architect involved in this.
My name is Carrie Zucker. I'm from Edelman Sultan Knoxwood Architects. As it already has been explained, the building is located at 1561 Walton Avenue between Mount Eden Avenue and East 172nd Street. As Nicole mentioned, we are proposing as-of-right zoning. The proposed FAR for the site is 5.96. This is under the allowable for quality housing. It's being proposed for quality housing. There are a total of 60 units, 9 three-bedroom units, 31 two-bedroom units, 19 one-bedroom units, and 1 studio. It's been designed under HPD design guidelines. The height is approximately 99 feet high. It's under the allowable 105 feet per zoning. The maximum base height is 80 feet, and we've gone to that maximum base height. Then there's the 15-foot setback. Building is 11 stories, plus a partial cellar, 9 stories up to the maximum base height. The street facade is 137 feet long. We've tried to stay contextual for the neighborhood, and we've proposed a brick facade. As I mentioned, it's being developed under quality housing regulations. We've provided daylight in the corridors and also recreation space in the rear yard, and then additional recreation space at a 10th floor terrace. We are participating in the Enterprise Green Communities program for HPD projects, as well as the NYSERDA Multifamily Performance Program. These are the green programs. So we're proposing energy-efficient condensing boilers, energy-efficient windows, LED lighting, and of course, Energy Star appliances. We're working with also an energy consultant, Bright Power, to do our modeling and to exceed the 17% ASHRAE requirements. I think that about covers it.
Thank you very much. Questions? Ms. Zhang.
Hi, thank you for being here. I'm going to ask my usual set. And again, you know, these may not be numbers that you have off the top of your head, which is fine, but I'm interested in knowing what the heating index, energy use intensity, and sort of, you know, gallons per bedroom goals are for this building. I think that given the context that the owner here operates 17 other buildings nearby, I think, you know, would certainly give you some sense of what, you know, what metrics have been achieved in sort of their, I guess, sister buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to know, you know, what's being proposed as the goals for this project. And then, again, I'm wondering if you could speak to whether this building will be providing cooling as part of what's built in, as opposed to, you know, residents having to sort of bring in their own cooling equipment. And if there's a smoking policy.
Well, I'll start with the energy, similar to the other project. We are working with a consultant who is currently in the process of the modeling for the building. We are proposing condensing boilers for this building, which is a change for the client from their previous, so it's a more energy efficient than what they've previously using. I'm sorry, what was your second question? The cooling. The cooling. We are proposing through-wall air conditioners for the units, and we have baseboard heating. And for the, we are providing fresh air for the corridors as is required per the code.
Will the through-wall ACs be provided by the owner?
Provided by the owner.
Oh, and the smoke.
I would let Nicole speak about the smoking policy in the building.
Please. We'll get,
Okay.
can't see from over there, but we'll get clarification. Ms. Ortiz.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just curious about the design element. The facade seems to be variegated. It doesn't go right up to the lot line. I'm curious what the rationale is for that.
The main rationale is that providing that corner gives a south-facing window, which is the optimal window for natural daylight into the apartments. So we give a little south-facing window and it goes in the living rooms of each apartment. So that's the main rationale.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Zucker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? Hearing none, the hearing is closed.
Borough of Queens, calendar number 21, CD 12, C150149, PQQ. A public hearing in the matter of an application for the acquisition of property concerning Charles Drew Senior Center and Theodore Jackson Senior Center.
First speaker is Nina Cotter from DCAS. Welcome, Ms. Cotter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Chair Weisbrot. My name is Nina Cotter. I'm a Director of Leasing with Department of Citywide Administrative Services, and I'm here to answer whatever questions you might have regarding the leasing activities related to this project.
Speak up a little bit.
Yes, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have related to leasing activities for this property.
Ms. Efron.
Thank you. In the landlord scope of work we were handed today, it makes reference to painting throughout the premises. But it wasn't specific about whether there's any lead paint or a need for lead paint abatement specifically in the child care center. I apologize for my ignorance, but I just don't know if that's included in the building department rules about daycare centers or about spaces, commercial spaces of this sort. If you could just elaborate.
Yes. I'm 99% sure that lead paint is the item that is covered by so-called AHERA report. This is a special form of asbestos report that we require landlords to prepare for all daycare centers, basically all educational establishments. The AHERA report that was presented for this property didn't have any detected lead paint. There was some presence of asbestos that can be managed and maintained properly, but there was nothing detected related to lead paint.
Okay. The 99% sure was that there isn't lead paint, or the 99% sure is that it's
No,
covered?
no, no. I'm 99% sure that this item is covered by a AHERA report, and as I've seen the results of the AHERA report, there was only the mention of the asbestos. There was no mention of the lead paint. If lead paint were in the property, then it would be reflected in that AHERA report.
If somebody could just clarify that there's no lead paint and therefore no need
Okay,
to
we
address it.
will look into that and get back to you.
Thank you.
Ms. Levin and then Ms. Deleuze.
Yes, Ms. Carter, I guess we've received, as Commissioner Efron indicated, we've received the scope of work for the two facilities here, and thank you. I don't know if it was your office that provided them or the client agencies. It's very helpful to have that. But I wonder if you could just give us an overview, layman's description of the general conditions of the premises and the work that the landlord's going to be required to undertake as part of this renewal.
This is not my area of expertise. I'm responsible for leasing. We have here Monica Rich, who is the director of DCAS, Design and Project Management team. That's the part of DCAS that prepares those scopes of work, so she will be able to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Rich is registered to speak.
Mhm.
That was my question.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Cotter? Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Cotter. Next speaker is Howard Hornstein. And Mr. Hornstein? Welcome back to you, Mr. Hornstein.
Well, it's good to be here. My name is Howard Hornstein. I am presently a real estate consultant for the Berkham Building, 165, 15 Archer Avenue, Borough and Queens. I know for the record that I used to sit. It was a great honor to sit there for 8 years. And one learns when you sit there that the real force behind the planning process in New York City is the department, the city planning. Can you hear me, guys?
Now it's better.
Put
Okay.
it mic closer.
Yeah, is the Department of City Planning. I am presently have Parkinson's and I apologize for the inability to communicate well. You have my testimony. It tells you that the community and the Berkham Building work very closely together. And we have contributed in our own way to the growth of Greater Jamaica. I want to point out to you, I think a question was asked at the executive session concerning the work we volunteered to do. It amounts to roughly $833,325. It involves a bathroom. They wanted us to patch them. We want to make it a little better than that. That work is the subject of negotiation during the lease. We don't have a lease with the city. Now it expired. And after you vote on your, we'll finish up. There was also a question about the Charles R. Drew Learning Center, which gave me an education. It is named after Dr. Charles R. Drew, first Afro-American to graduate from Columbia Physicians and Surgeons. He is the first organizer of a large-scale blood bank in the United States. And he was a great athlete. He went to Dunbar High School and Amherst College, starred in track and field and football. And some say he was as good as Jim Brown. He's quite a guy. And we're talking to the planning board and the center about doing something appropriate at the building. We haven't exactly focused on it yet, but we will definitely do something. It was an education for me to read that stuff. The daycare center is also unique in that it has a play area on the roof of 883 square foot. That allows the kids in daycare to have rec the whole year round. So they having to walk to the park. They use the roof. We have the unanimous support of the community board. The borough president is in favor of this, and if you will vote in favor of it, we'll get a license that'll carry it through the lease. After the lease period, we'll get a new lease done with Mr. Carter, and I'll go away. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well timed, Mr. Hornstein. Congratulations. Thank you. Mr. Knuckles.
Yes, sir.
Howard, I want to thank you for your testimony, and I'd like to say it's good to see you. And
good
you
to
are
see you.
you are the personification of the fact that you can't keep a good land use lawyer down.
Listen, I cut my feet in this body, and it's good to know that there's somebody older than me here.
And who might that be, Howard?
Erwin is, I thought I was a fiction. Erwin is part of the building.
Mr. Can, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, please.
Mr. Cantor.
Took part of me away.
I welcome him.
40 years ago, you sat on this side of the table, and you did a great job. And subsequent to that, you've been a zoning lawyer, and you've done a great job. You were a very formidable presence. I wish you well. I wish you health. I wish you the opportunity to come back and speak to us again.
I love to do that. I neglected one thing. The managing partner, the good-looking managing partner, is Bonnie Birkin, Benny Hornstein. Try and say that 10 times. Who's the daughter of Harry Birkin. And, she runs the building, and she does a very good job. I think I'm finished. Unless you have any questions. Some of you I don't know. I know Carl longer than I should. Kenny. I know Erwin. I wish you all luck and you get the best jobs.
And likewise to you, Howard. Welcome back. Thank you. The next speaker is Kenneth Robinson from ACS. So I think the mic is a little.
Okay.
Oops.
That's worse. Try it back.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning.
Well done, James.
Good morning, Chair Weisbrod, other commissioners. My name is Kenneth Robinson. I'm here to speak on behalf of ACS. Mr. Ornstein spoke so thoroughly that I'm not sure what I can add, but I will. We're seeking an acquisition approval for continuing the Charles Drew Early Learning Center at 165-15 Archer Avenue in Jamaica in Queens. We're seeking the approval so that ACS and DCAS can negotiate a lease renewal for this childcare center so it can remain at this site. The program serves up to 72 preschoolers. They may attend the program full-time from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. The children are taken to and from the center by their parents or caretakers, allowing the parents or caretakers to work, attend school, acquire training. This center and the DIFTA Center, Senior Center, are located in a 5-story privately owned building on 165-15 Archer Avenue in Queens Community District 12. The location of the site is accessible by public transportation, including the J, Z, E, and F train, and a large number of bus lines. In fact, many bus lines have their terminal very near the site. The ACS portion of the structure occupied approximately 8,000 square feet, including 900 feet of outdoor play area on the second floor roof. The child care center uses the second floor and the rooftop. DIFTA occupies, I believe, other space, which will be addressed by the DIFTA representative. We're on the second floor. There are 4 classrooms for the children and office space. There is some interaction with the senior center in that on holiday, the children, under staff supervision, do holiday performances for the senior center. And in closing, I hope you will approve this application for the lease renewal so that we can continue this vital service for the Jamaica area. I'm now available to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Ms. Efron.
Thank you. Thank you for the thorough description. The paperwork, and you have said that it's up to 72 children. How utilized is it? Are there regularly?
It seems to be pretty fully utilized.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other question, Ms. Ortiz?
Hi, good morning. So I do notice, and maybe you're not the right person to answer this question, but I'll ask it. You know, the condition on the ground floor, the view from Archer and 165th Street, is really a windowless ground floor, you know, brick wall facing the sidewalk. Is that a typical condition? Is that done for security, safety reasons?
I believe it's for security, but that's not the entrance for the children. The building also houses, in fact, both the building houses an ACS administrative offices. So they would have, security would be for them. But the children's entrance goes through the second floor.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Robinson? Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Lee Boyes from the Department for the Aging.
Hi, good morning. I'm Lee Boyes from the Department for the Aging. The Jaspoa Theodore Jackson Senior Center, Jamaica Service Program for Older Adults, was established in the 70s at this site, and they're still going strong, and we're really looking forward to renewing this lease and continuing this program where approximately 200 persons per day are served. Although the program has a membership of a couple of thousand people, it's not a capacity issue. Everyone who wants to attend does attend each day. The senior center really is a home away from home for our seniors. People go play pool, do crafts. There are programs where they interact with the on-site daycare center, usually surrounding performances and singing. There's ample service about senior benefits, and we're very pleased with the center. We're very happy with the landlord, and we want to continue for many years.
Thank you, Ms. Boyce. Questions? Thank you very much. The next speaker is Monica Rich from DCAS. Good morning, Ms. Rich.
Good morning. So I'm here to answer questions on the scope and that you received earlier today. And if you want, I just kind of give you a quick overview because I understand that we've mentioned that before. So if we look at the scope, right, we have the tenant scope and we have a landlord scope. Most of the landlord scope work is things like replacement and refurbishment. There's like life safety. There's attention to ADA, which, you know, I think 20 years ago was probably not as, I mean, it was important, but it's time to revisit that. You know, like making the ramps more accessible because the ramp needs to be revised. Even ADA compliant parking, which is in the garage and the basement. So correct amount, you know, as per code. Then the roof so all roofs are going to be replaced, and based on New York State Energy Code, that's what's in our scope, so, and then there's things like repair and replace the chain link fence, which is on the roof, and, you know, radiator covers replacement, sort of damaged pin tubes, dealing with that, bathroom replacements kind of throughout, and replacing the boiler, the existing boiler and the pumps, and there's quite a few points regarding HVAC replacement. So that's kind of gives you a quick sampling overview on the landlord. Do you want me to take questions now, or should I do both tenant and landlord and then questions?
Why don't you do a very quick overview of tenants' work as well?
Right, I think just sort of, you know, the tenant work kind of works with the landlord scope in the sense that there's some replacements in the tenant scope for flooring in the kitchen and ceramic tiles. But there's also some additional construction that's going to be done, some interview rooms for ACS and an additional classroom that's been requested, and, you know, also like a new children's toilet, so, and enlarging one of the playrooms. So, you know, I think that there's, you know, given the amount of time that's gone by, I know ACS has taken a look and figured out what their new needs are regarding today's environment.
Okay. Questions for Ms. Rich? Ms. Besser, then Ms. Delauss, and
All right, and
we'll
I'll tell you
go
right
on
now
from
that
there.
if there's specific things, if I can't answer, we will take them back and
Sure.
send you emails, so.
Okay, starting with Ms. Besser.
Thank you. The previous speaker had mentioned that there was evidence of asbestos found, so I just wanted to know if...
Right, and I think the first thing on this list was asking for ACP 5s and ACP 7s to make sure that everything has been investigated. So it says investigate all suspect materials, so everything we thoroughly reviewed, and, okay, all right? No, okay. So, okay, I don't know. All right, so why don't I just finish and then need to come back, or?
No.
Okay, so
Go
I
ahead.
mean, it will, it's the first thing in bold on the list in the landlord scope, so. All right. Next.
Ms. Delauss.
Well, just as a follow-up, so specific, the ACP 5s and 7s, I guess, I'm not familiar with that term.
Oh, no, the ACP 5 is what would be, if there is no asbestos found, an ACP 5 is what the DOB would give.
Okay.
If there's like the need for encapsulation, it would be an ACP 7.
Gotcha. Okay, so in one small area, there is a need for encapsulation, is that?
If there
understand?
is, okay, so, because it says, you know, mitigate is required, so I think, you know, that would all have to be done prior to any construction work being done. It's always required by the DOB.
Okay.
Mr. Knuckles.
Did you have a question?
No, go ahead.
With regard to both scopes of work, the tenant scope of work as well as the landlord, this work will happen simultaneously?
Yes.
Pretty much?
Yes.
So who is coordinating it? Is it DDC? Who oversees?
Well, DCAS would oversee that.
DCAS?
We're involved all the way through to the end of the, you know, till, I would say, move-in, or in this case, renovation, completion, substantial completion. You know, all of that is also put into the lease.
Okay, so it's still within, the oversight of construction is still within DCAS?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Levin, Ms. Efron.
In the landlord's work, there's a reference in the demolition to 1G plumbing and sprinklers, but I don't see any sprinkler heads in the one photo that shows the ceiling. Are there sprinklers?
I'm sorry. Oh, okay, I see where you are now. I'm not 100% sure. Yes, sandpipe and sprinklers, so yes. The answer is yes. Thank you very much.
Ms. Zhang.
I'll review that.
So, so DCAS oversees up to move-in, basically, right? And then I'm wondering, up to sort of move-in, up to construction completion. right?
Correct.
And then, is there, I'm just curious how it works. Like, is there any kind of ongoing monitoring of the physical condition or the energy performance or anything like that? I mean, DCAS obviously as an agency has made some, ambitious commitments on as far as the city's climate goals are concerned, and I'm wondering how these leaseholds sort of work into it, whether there's some sort of asset management or.
I don't think that we're involved that much with the maintenance.
Please.
I think. So, basically, we're the entity that works with it through the leasing. I mean, that's why leasing and design and project management work together through, this phase. But I think then it's up to each agency, who's in there, so.
So you don't
There's
see it
some
again until it
repair
comes back
clauses
20 years
that
later.
they can work directly with the landlord. But
You
there's
see
no
it every 20
ongoing,
years or so.
there's no ongoing energy management. Unless,
Ms. Deluz.
What impact on programming are the improvements likely to have, and how will it be timed based on the use of the facility?
okay, I think the programs would have to answer that themselves. But in terms of, our job is to make sure, that all efforts have been, that service is not disrupted in any way. And, we'll certainly be working with the landlord, doing a phasing diagram. That's why, that's like one of the number one things here. We have experience in dealing with this, as do both of these agencies.
Thanks.
Ms. Rich, I'm a little confused. We've had reports that the building is, and we've had testimony both from DIFTA and from ACS that, as well as site reports from our own staff, that the building and the space is occupied by ACS and Department for the Aging, and their programs are in good condition right now. And is that your assessment as well?
I think it's good to fair condition, but I think it's also been 20 years since some of these things have been overhauled, and things like whether it's baseboard heating and stuff has taken a bit of a beating. So I think that some of these things,
Okay.
need to, be looked at, and that's
And-
why.
And I haven't had yet, we just got this morning, so I haven't had a chance yet to look really through the tenant and landlord scope of work. But it sounds like from your testimony that these scopes are both items that have been identified as needing upgrading or improvement, as well as an investigation or further examination of other items to assure that, or to determine whether in fact they need upgrading and improvement. Is that fair?
I think that's a fair assessment.
And so all of this, both the upgrading as well as the determination of future work, and to the extent future work is required as per the landlord's scope of work and the tenant's scope of work, would be completed in conjunction with lease renewal. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And as such will be, to the extent it hasn't been completed at the time of lease renewal, will be incorporated into the lease.
Correct, it will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Marin, and then Ms. Efron.
I just have a very general question following up on what the chairperson has indicated. How often does, once DIFTA executes a lease with someone, or let me, your involvement is to make sure these items are taken care of, because there is some.
I'm actually with DCAS.
DCAS. Once DCAS takes and does a lease, do you come back periodically throughout that lease period to inspect the premises? And the reason why I'm asking this question is because we've seen, and as you all know, we've had an influx of senior centers, child daycare centers coming before us, and some of these questions become sort of typical now that, as Anna puts it, we've learned, we become more educated and know what to ask for. So the question really is, do you, DCAS, then get involved periodically to check on the space to make sure that things like ADA compliance, which is new for a certain, these are being monitored and kept up to date, other than waiting till the end of the lease, 20 years, and saying, okay, now we're going to revamp this whole project.
I'll have to get back to you because I don't believe that that's been part of our mandate, but I want to make sure, so I don't want to say, categorically that we don't, but I will get back to you on that.
Appreciate it.
So I
Thank
would
you.
rather talk with, make sure. So your question is really, do we do periodic visits during the lease term?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I guess the question, just to add to what Commissioner Marin said, the question is, do you view that responsibility to get back to you on and to monitor conditions during lease term as the responsibility of the agencies that are occupying the space, or do you view it as DCAS's ultimate responsibility, or is that a shared responsibility, and if so, how is it shared?
Yeah, I think, also the agencies can speak to that too, and I think that it's mostly the agencies, but agencies sometimes with DCAS, depending on the issue, so.
Thank you. Ms. Zhang, and then Ms. Efron.
Just to add on to that, this is also, in terms of process, very foggy for me. It's all new, and I'm wondering, would it be possible to sort of, since we're seeing a number of these things come through where it's a collaboration between, DCAS, ACS, and DIFTA, I wonder, would it be possible to get some sort of a summary of how the physical conditions are kind of monitored over the life cycle of the thing, like what, starting, let's say, with, the lease, the period before the lease is up, obviously, there's some sort of a process that kicks in where you're sending out some sort of inspectors and,
Right. And some of that is with our leasing people, so
Right.
we work hand in hand with them.
And then in particular, again, because, this is one of these occasions where the city only gets to really take a close look at this, once every couple of decades. And given the kind of, climate goals that we have, it seems like it's a sort of an inflection point where if the city wanted to make some decisions about improving performance, like maybe these are the right moments to do them. And so I'd like to understand a little in not like, terrible level of detail, but just sort of enough so that we can
An overview.
understand what's
Right.
going on, at like sort of in the box,
Okay,
Yeah, and then the question about like, how it's then sort of monitored over time. Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank
Sure.
you.
We can put something together.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Ms. Efron.
Just because we have been seeing so many of these, I just want to say that, first of all, it's very useful to see the landlord scope and the tenant scope, but I have to say that there's a bit of confusion about what should be typically, or what is tenant work versus landlord work, particularly around some plumbing items where it almost seems as if it's a triple net lease, but there is an obligation on both parts to provide certain things. I feel very uncomfortable making drawing any conclusions about whether or not this meets the standard for what a lease term renewal should be without having a better sense of what the specific scopes are. It may be a case of having a little bit too much information, but then again, not enough.
Right, and I
but
think-
it does seem a bit contradictory, if not very confusing.
Right, I think sometimes, like in cases like this, there's so much detail that's gone into it, and also it's a chance for these agencies also to make sure that all their i's are dotted, t's are crossed. So, I hear what you're saying about some of it being a little bit confusing too, so.
But I think what, at least I think, and maybe reflect the views of my colleagues, maybe not, but that we really do look to DCAS to be the responsible agent here, and that to some extent, the agencies, ACS and DIPTA in this case, are your clients, but it is ultimately the responsibility of DCAS as both the agent for the city and I think the ultimate tenant here to provide the clarity, the responsibility, fix the responsibility, both in terms of current conditions, what has to be done prior to entering into a lease renewal, and how conditions are monitored thereafter. And just as my colleagues have indicated, I think the issue is not even so much looking specifically at this particular renewal, but the fact that we have scores, if not hundreds of these that are coming through, and they have as a classification a long and not always untroubling history.
Okay. Point taken. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Rich?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very, very much. And is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? And hearing none, the hearing is closed. Madam Secretary, is there any other business to come before the commission today?
No, Chairman Weisbrod.
With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. And I hear unanimity on that front. Thank you very much.